Welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us a really interesting stack of recent industry insights.
Yeah.
Articles, reports, observations, all hitting that sweet spot where data, marketing, and the entertainment world collide.
Yeah, and for someone like you focusing on this for behind the curtain, getting past the surface level noise is absolutely crucial.
Exactly. So our mission today is to, well, dive into this material, pull out the really key nuggets, and unpack what these numbers and observations are telling us about how entertainment is working right now.
And where marketing fits in, what's driving success, what's maybe falling short across different platforms.
Looking for that signal in the noise, as you said. Okay, let's unpack this. Where should we start? Maybe the big screen.
Makes sense, the traditional starting point.
Yeah.
And the sources this week show some really stark contrasts. You've got Lilo and Stitch just absolutely crushing it.
Crushing it is right. $280 million domestic in just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's massive.
It really is. And what's particularly interesting, kind of a key metric for efficiency, is how well it's doing per theater. It earned more than double the average of the next film down, which was Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. That tells you the demand is intense wherever it's playing, not just, spread thin across lots of screens.
Okay, so that's the high point.
Yeah.
But the sources also pointed out films that maybe didn't hit the mark. Karate Kid Legends was mentioned, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Its opening, around $21 million, was actually below the low end of what analysts were predicting.
Ouch. Why? What did the data suggest?
Well, a couple of things seem to be at play. One, just generally weaker audience interest, maybe, for seeing this specific film in theaters. But also, and this seems critical, the paid media strategy apparently didn't create that sense of urgency.
Urgency to see it now in the cinema.
Precisely. The feeling is the marketing relied heavily on, standard trailers, ad buys, but it didn't really convince enough people that they needed to rush out. A lot of folks seem happy to just wait for streaming.
Which feels like the million-dollar question for so many films right now, doesn't it? How do you get people off the couch?
It really is. But it's not all doom and gloom. The sources did highlight a couple of upcoming titles that seem to have strong momentum building.
Oh, yeah. Which ones?
Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon were both mentioned. They're tracking well, steadily. And the key thing the data points to is they aren't just leaning on that paid media push.
Okay, so they're using a broader mix. What does that actually look like? Because understanding those other levers feels, well, pretty essential for decoding what works theatrically today.
Totally. So for Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon, based on these reports, it's things like strong cast appeal. Keanu Reeves got a specific shout out for Ballerina, obviously.
Big sec.
Then there's creator-driven content, earned media, the organic buzz from press, social media chatter, word of mouth, and even things like gaming tie-ins.
Right, engaging people on multiple fronts.
Exactly. Compare that to Karate Kid Legends, which, according to this analysis, was much more focused on just buying ads and dropping trailers. It suggests you need a wider toolkit today.
It sounds less like just advertising a movie and more like trying to create a whole cultural moment around it.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. The sources also mentioned Elio, which is apparently also relying heavily on paid media right now, and seems to be struggling a bit with generating that immediate theatrical buzz.
And probably not helped by the fact people expect it on Disney Plus fairly soon.
Very likely a factor, yeah. But interestingly, the data includes a little note, a potential caveat. Disney's marketing focus could shift away from Lilo and Stitch now that it's doing so well on its own.
Freeing up resources.
Potentially. So Elio might get a boost in the coming weeks if that marketing muscle pivots. It's something to watch.
Okay. What about the bigger picture, like overall marketing impact on the box office or that consumer product halo effect? Are the sources seeing big shifts there?
Not major shifts this week, according to the reports. That stuff usually builds more gradually. It takes time for marketing campaigns to really saturate or for products to catch on.
Unless something goes massively viral, I guess.
Right, exactly. But the data is starting to show some early green shoots for consumer products linked to How to Train Your Dragon, Fantastic Four. First steps. Interest is growing there.
So the halo effect is starting to glimmer, maybe?
It suggests it's beginning, yeah. The IP is starting to drive interest beyond just the film itself.
So let's connect this back for you, thinking about behind the curtain. Looking at this box office data, the huge hit, the stumble, the ones building steam, what's the core takeaway about marketing for theaters right now?
Well, it really poses the question, doesn't it? In a world where everyone knows streaming is an option, and often a pretty quick one, can you really rely just on buying ads to guarantee a theatrical success?
The data seems to say probably not.
It leans that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Films like Lilo and Stitch seem to tap into something broader, this undeniable appeal that fuels organic buzz. The ones leaning heavily on just the paid playbook seem to struggle more to overcome that wait for streaming inertia.
So the successful models are using that wider arsenal you mentioned.
It looks like it. Leveraging existing fans, star power people actually care about, generating real, earned media buzz, making those cross-platform connections like gaming. It seems creating urgency now needs that multi-pronged attack. It's about sparking real interest, real conversation, not just awareness.
That makes a lot of sense, seeing the contrast laid out like that.
Yeah.
How does this compare to what the sources are saying about the streaming side this week? Different world or similar dynamics?
A bit of both, actually. It's a different landscape, but definitely connected. Streaming had some clear winners, according to the data. Netflix, for instance, had a big one with Sirens.
Oh, yeah, I saw that was doing well.
#1 globally over Memorial Day weekend. Top 10 in, over 90 countries. The reports suggest that was really driven by international interest and a pretty buzzy cast. You know, Julianne Moore, Megan Fahey, Millie Alcock, Kevin Bacon.
That's a strong lineup. And Netflix also had success with horror, right? That seems like a reliable genre for them.
Absolutely fair street. Prom Queen dropped and just sliced its way to #1 on their global film charts. Pulled in 10.7 million views in just 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, top 10 in 89 countries. It just shows there's still huge demand for that kind of nostalgic slasher vibe, especially within an established franchise.
And it wasn't just Netflix making waves, was it? The data showed movement elsewhere.
No, definitely not. We saw Mickey 17 hitting the top spot for movies on HBO Max. Last Showgirl led the way on Hulu movies. Heretic cracked the top 3 over on Amazon Prime Video.
And a surprise on the series side for Hulu.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay's Secret Service popped into their top 3 series. Kind of highlights how you can still get these unexpected breakouts sometimes.
Okay, and here's where that connection you were hinting at earlier between theatrical and streaming really comes into focus in the data, right?
Yes, exactly. The sources explicitly show this ripple effect. It's fascinating.
Oh, so.
Well, look at Lilo and Stitch smashing it in theaters. Concurrent with that, Disney Plus had 3 Lilo and Stitch-related titles jump into its own top 10.
So the new movie drives interest back to the catalog.
Precisely. Same thing with Mission Impossible. The Final Reckoning's theatrical presence apparently led to renewed interest in 2 older Mission Impossible films over on Paramount Plus. And Final Destination surged onto the Max charts, too.
So the big screen buzz really can lift the small screen boats.
Absolutely. The data makes it pretty clear. It's not just that theatrical momentum exists in a vacuum. It can drive significant engagement for related content on streaming. It shows how intertwined these strategies really are, or maybe how they should be.
Less of a sequential handoff, more like a constant interplay.
Yeah, maybe symbiotic is the right word. Okay, so moving beyond film and TV series specifically, the sources also touched on music, digital creators, and just the sheer speed of content these days.
Right. What were the quick hits there?
On the music side, just briefly, Somber's Back to Friend is apparently building some good momentum. Jin's Don't Say You Love Me broke into Spotify's global top 10 most streamed. Bad Bunny's still the top artist globally, but Taylor Swift actually reclaimed the #2 spot for Morgan Wallen this week. So, some movement at the very top.
And then there was a massive creator milestone highlighted.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Beast. The sources noted he surpassed 400 million subscribers on his main YouTube channel.
400 million. That number is just hard to even comprehend.
It really is. It cements him not just as a big YouTuber, but a global media force, honestly. His reach is comparable to major studios or networks.
And the sources looked at how people find longer videos online, like on YouTube.
Yeah, they noted that paid media, so advertising basically, played a pretty big role in driving views for a lot of the top long-form videos this week, especially music and entertainment stuff.
So even for free content, you often need that marketing push to get eyeballs initially.
Seems that way, yeah.
Yeah.
But the most maybe striking thing about that digital space, according to the data, is just how fast it moves.
How fast?
Incredibly fast. The report highlighted that none of the top 10 YouTube videos from the previous week were still in the top 10 this week.
Wow. 0 carryover.
0. It just underscores this relentless consumption cycle. If you want to stay relevant and capture attention there, you need constant presence, constant output. It's a completely different rhythm to, say, releasing a movie or even a weekly TV show.
That really paints a picture. Okay, let's shift to star power, general buzz, and some of those bigger strategic industry moves the sources outlined. There was definitely a surge in celebrity buzz this week.
There was, yeah. A lot driven by those Netflix releases we talked about, and also the Cannes Film Festival is always a huge generator.
Right. So Millie Alcock and Megan Fahey from Sirens got a lot of attention.
Significant attention. And the reports even dug into why. For Millie, it wasn't just Sirens, but also buzz around her ongoing role in House of the Dragon and news she'd wrapped filming Supergirl.
So her whole career trajectory adds to the buzz.
Exactly. And for Meghan, even personal news factored in. Then Miku Martineau trended for her role in BT. It shows how performer buzz comes from lots of different angles.
And Cannes always delivers those standout moments.
For sure. Pedro Pascal and Alexander Skarsgård were big mentions in the data. Pedro got attention for his film Eddington, but also generated buzz talking about the upcoming Fantastic Four and even some political remarks he made.
So mixing film, future projects, and personal comments.
Right. And Skarsgård, similar thing, buzz for his film Pillion, yeah, but also his slightly viral red carpet outfit drove a lot of conversation, which also helped boost awareness for his upcoming series Murderbot. It shows how these non-film moments can really amplify things.
Plus, you've got the ongoing buzz from the big blockbusters still playing.
Oh, yeah. Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, still driving talk around Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And with Cruise, there's always that background hum of Top Gun 3 speculation keeping him in the conversation.
And Isaac Gonzalez was highlighted as someone using multiple platforms effectively.
Yeah, she had a kind of trifecta this week, according to the sources. Her Cannes debut, attending a big Dior show in Rome, and actively promoting her next film, Fountain of Youth.
Connecting fashion, film festivals, actual movie promotion.
Exactly. It's a great example of how talent can strategically link different kinds of appearances and events to boost their overall profile and reach across various media spaces.
So looking at what content overall is getting the most interest right now, not just views, but buzz and searches, what do the sources say?
Well, no huge surprises given the box office Mission Impossible. The Final Reckoning and Lilo and Stitch were leading the pack for films in terms of overall interest tracked.
Film series.
The Last of Us was #1, likely boosted by talk following its Season 2 finale, and then Netflix's Sirens debuted really strong at #2 in overall interest.
Okay. So beyond the content and the stars, the industry itself is making moves. Loyalty programs seem like a big theme in the sources this week.
A really significant theme, yeah. Disney Plus just rolled out its Always-On Perks program in the U.S. It gives subscribers extra stuff like a Dash Pass subscription, discounts at Disney World, some merchandise savings, sweepstakes.
Trying to add value beyond just the streaming library.
Exactly. And Hulu's launching something similar starting June 2nd with deals from partners like Microsoft and LG. And the interesting kicker the reports highlighted, if you get the Disney Plus Hulu bundle, you're eligible for both sets of perks.
So rewarding the bundle subscribers even more. Smart.
Yeah, it's a very clear strategic play to increase perceived value, keep people subscribed, reduce that churn rate.
And A24, usually known for more indie auteur-driven films, is making a big jump into video game adaptations.
This was a fascinating bit of news in the sources, a real strategic pivot for them. They're developing live-action films based on two absolutely massive gaming franchises, Elden Ring and Death Stranding.
Well, those are huge titles.
Huge. Both are apparently in early development, but with serious talent already attached. Alex Garland is set to write and direct Elden Ring, with George R.R. Martin involved as a co-producer, and Michael Sarnowski is tapped for Death Stranding.
That's A24 betting big on established IP from a different medium.
Absolutely. It shows how studios are really aggressively looking at popular gaming IP now, recognizing the massive built-in fan bases and the potential for creating big cinematic events.
And speaking of global reach, Lionsgate is making a specific play with the John Wick universe in China.
Yeah, the data noted that Ballerina, the spinoff, has secured a day-and-date release. So it opens in China on the exact same day as the U.S., June 6th.
Is that unusual for that franchise?
It's significant because it's only the second film from the John Wick universe ever to get a release in Chinese cinemas. So it really highlights Lionsgate's strategy to expand that franchise's global footprint, specifically targeting a key market like China, where theatricals can still be huge.
Okay, and finally, the sources were full of brand collaborations this week. Just a flurry of them.
Yeah, these are always great examples of how IP gets leveraged way beyond the screen. We saw McDonald's bringing back Squishmallows in Australia, tapping into that whole kidult collector trend.
Right.
Lancome did a luxury Monopoly board game with specific customizations for VIPs in Asia, kind of blending high fashion and nostalgia. Mattel's partnering with Playmobil for Monster High playsets.
Lego and Nike are doing stuff
Yeah.
together.
Co-branded sneakers, an Air Max DN coming in August, and even a buildable Lego Dunk set in July. Merging collectibles and sneaker culture.
What else?
Google's working with Gentle Monster on high-fashion smart eyewear with Android tech built in. Burger King has a fiery-themed menu tie-in for How to Train Your Dragon. And even Chewy, the pet company, is doing limited edition granola bars themed around Jurassic World Rebirth.
It feels like almost every major piece of entertainment IP is looking for these kinds of brand extensions now.
Pretty much. It's all about leveraging that existing recognition and fandom. The entertainment property drives interest for the brand partner, and the brand collaboration extends the reach and cultural presence of the IP. It keeps it alive and visible way beyond the initial release.
Okay, so let's try and tie all these threads together. For you, thinking about your focus on behind the curtain, analyzing this intersection of data, marketing, entertainment strategy, what are the really core insights emerging from this whole stack of sources we just went through?
Well, synthesizing it all, I think a few key things jump out. First, the box office data is really hammering home that the old playbook, just relying heavily on paid media, often isn't enough anymore. You need that broader mix earned buzz, creator stuff, talent appeal to create real theatrical urgency.
Great one.
Second, streaming and theatrical aren't separate silos. The data clearly shows this halo effect where big screen success does boost engagement with related stuff on streaming. They feed each other.
Got it. Interconnectedness.
Third, star power and creator influence are still incredibly potent. Whether it's buzz from Cannes, Netflix launches, or hitting massive subscriber milestones like MrBeast, that individual influence drives enormous attention and conversation.
Okay, and fourth.
Fourth, the industry is reacting with really diverse strategies. They're trying everything from loyalty perks to lock you in, to mining video games for the next big franchise, to constantly finding new brand collaborations. Anything to engage audiences and keep momentum going beyond just launch week.
It paints a picture of an industry that's definitely not standing still, constantly trying new things to reach an audience with just infinite options.
Which leads us to maybe the final thought, the provocative question for you to ponder, especially for your audience. If the data keeps showing that people are increasingly okay with waiting for streaming or happy to engage with their favorite stories through games or merch or brand tie-ins, what does that really mean for the future of the traditional theatrical window as the main event, the primary driver of value?
Yeah, that's the big question hanging over a lot of this, isn't it? A lot to think about there. Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive into this batch of sources today, pulled out insights on everything from box office strategies and streaming hits to digital content cycles, star buzz, and industry maneuvering.
And really understanding how data is shaping these marketing decisions, how buzz is generated, how all these different pieces of the industry connect or sometimes disconnect, that feels absolutely key to navigating this landscape right now.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the latest churnings in the entertainment world. There's definitely a lot happening, and the data certainly gives us a clearer lens to view it through.